hot. Don't speak to any moment. Product of her environment. Shout out the global woman. Can't box her in with any trend. No, she's a global woman. Call Fire Marshal Bill. Like, let me tell you something. Flawless, beautiful. Follow codes down to her toes. Cuticles, picking rolls with the flow. Slam dunking all the goals. Silvers for the novice and golds for the pros.
What's going on, everybody out there in TV land, on YouTube and on Facebook Live? We come to you tonight to interrupt your regular scheduled program. Hey, y'all, we got another banger tonight. The mic is hot. The phone lines are ready. The panel, they're ready to go. We're going to get into this topic. But Facebook, hey, do me a huge favor. I need y'all to go over and click that link. It's right in the chat section and watch it on YouTube. We want to hear your comments, all right? But we cannot not hear your comments. I'm sorry. We want to read your comments, but we cannot read your comments unless you're watching it live on YouTube. Thank you. Hey, YouTube, don't forget to click that like button. It's the thumbs up. Then slide your finger on over and press the subscribe. And don't forget to click the all so you get all of the notifications when we're going live or dropping new content. Lastly, share. You might ask, share this video to where? Well, most of us have Facebook, so that's where you can share it to or anywhere you desire. All right, y'all got that. Share. We want y'all to share. Listen, we're trying to get our podcast up and cracking, but we need y'all help. We need y'all to share these videos so we can get up there with the big dogs in the big league. But also, we're doing something new. Every time we hit the 200 milestone mark with subscribers, we will go into the chat and find one or two people and send them a gift. You must be a subscriber to participate. All right, y'all. Also, I pinned my Stop Playing Apparel link right in the chat section. Hey, like always, support starts at home. Check me out. Support your boy. StopPlaying.net. StopPlayn.net. Check me out. All right, y'all. Lastly, if you like what we're doing and you would like to donate to us, we got a cash QR code, right on the screen. All monetary gifts are appreciated. We thank you in advance for your gifts. But I understand sometimes people use their mobile device and you cannot scan the QR code. There's a cash tag right on the bottom of the screen. The cash tag is $Nutz, N-U-T-Z, Boltz, B-O-L-T-Z 1. Again, it's $Nutz, Boltz 1. And with that being said, welcome to Nuts and Bolts of Life. I'm the CEO of Stop Playing Apparel. My name is Edmund Chapman, and I'm from South Carolina.
My name is Kyra from California.
My name is Obi. I don't have a clothing line. I'm just here to participate, have some fun.
And I'm Joshua. I'm from Chicago, Illinois.
Hi, I am Shannon. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I'm the best mom my kids has ever had.
I'm Tiffany. I'm from Chicago.
All right.
And I'm Jenna, originally from New Jersey, but hailing from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Welcome. Well, before we dive into this, y'all know what we do every single week. Yep, it's Ed's story time. So today, it's gonna be a little bit more serious than normal. When is the madness gonna stop, y'all? When are we gonna band together as people? Black people, white people, Asians, Hispanic, just band together. When are the senseless killing gonna stop? Tonight it's a shout out. Well, not really a shout out. Tonight, we were still mourning the death of Sonia Massey, who was killed by a police officer who's supposed to protect and serve. It says it right on the uniform, on the logo, to protect and serve. So only way we're going to stop things like this from happening if we all band together, not just black people, everyone. White people, Hispanics, Asian, all of us, all Americans band together and say enough is enough. So right now, I just want to take a quick moment of silence for Sonia Massey, who was shot and killed in her own home. Thank you. Hey, Obi, what's tonight's topic?
It Tonight's topic is long overdue. It's about colorism, light skin versus dark skin. Do you guys think that colorism exists? Let's talk about it.
It's gonna get kind of heavy tonight talking about colorism. Before we even dive into that, hey, I'm gonna throw it over to Kyra. Kyra, talk to the people.
Yeah, so we want to lay the foundation so that everyone is on the same page. I know growing up, there was a lot of like light skin versus dark skin, or house Negro versus field Negro, and the list goes on and on. And so I'm going to start with the definition of colorism so that we're all on the same page before we indulge and dive deep into this conversation. So the definition of colorism is prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. I'm going to run that back. Prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. So I just want to bring to light that colorism happens in all cultures, in the Asian culture, Hispanic, in Indian, Native American. It's been ingrained and instilled in us, part of this systemic issues that we deal with from the beginning and how things were created. So this is not just a Black person thing. It's an everything and everyone thing with the pigment and the melanin that is in each of our bodies. So with that being said, my first question for whoever would like to answer is, and
Hey, Kyra,
I just
hold on,
want to,
Kyra.
yeah,
Before you throw a serious question out, let me get everybody loose real quick. Let me just loosen them up. They look kind of tight. Let me throw something out there just to loosen everybody up real quick. Then we're gonna get to the serious question.
all right.
Ladies, y'all heard what colorism is, right? So why, or are y'all, Obi, Joshua, are they displaying colorism when they say I want a tall,
Ooh.
dark, and handsome man? Why they can put the dark in there? Like, huh, ladies? Are y'all displaying colorism when y'all say that?
In my opinion, no, because
I don't think so.
it's speaking like colorism by definition is like a negative connotation to people of darker complexion, and wanting someone tall, dark, and handsome is like is a good thing. Saying I want some chocolate in my life.
What about some brown?
Brown's cool.
Caramel.
You sound like
Caramels.
and you sound like it's reverse colorism, like they say, reverse
Racism.
I'm just asking y'all, ladies. Y'all always talking about never saying I want a tall, handsome guy. You got to put that dark in there. I'm like, I ain't dark, so what? I can't be in it. I ain't tall either.
I think that's more so a preference.
You ain't tall either.
Go ahead, Chan. I see your hand there. Go ahead. Danny, what you got?
Well, I do agree with Kyra with the opening statement about it. However, in my opinion, because I am dark skinned, I tend to gravitate toward light skinned men, only because I know the struggle of being dark skinned. So in my mind, that light skinned men might make more money, have it a little easier in life, be able to provide with less struggle, and don't get as much pushback from society. So for me, I'm looking for a Boris Kojo type of dude, tall, light skinned, because I just think the world has made it so hard for the darker men. And it might sound wrong, but that's what I gravitate to, because if we both my complexion, we finna have it hard out here. That's just me.
I hear you, Shannon. And that just leads me to another question. I mean, is colorism something that we as a community, whether it's Mexican community, Black community, is that something that we are imposing on each other? Or is that something that, society is making us deal with and making us have a kind of confrontation with that and be conflicted with that in our own minds and our own situation?
And that's a great question. Colorism has a lot of layers to it.
Yeah.
I don't think you could be specific in one area, right? And it would take years to peel that back. However, I do believe it starts within our own people, and we see it more from our own people. but we got to remember where it started, how it got here. And one thing I wanted to bring up, our people, if I'm not mistaken, started the brown paper bag test, right? Where
No.
you would take a brown paper bag, and anyone that was lighter than that brown paper bag would be allowed into certain organizations, venues, gatherings, churches, community. Anything darker than that paper bag was not allowed. And I believe that was originated with our kind. So I think it runs deep within ourselves first.
Josh, before you go, I just want to take it one step backwards. I want Kyra, because y'all ready already. They already do over. They ready. They going.
I
I
see.
try to get a little jokey. They
I
going
see.
serious already.
They
So
ready.
we gonna go back to Kyra question, and then I'm sure that's gonna lead into a lot of these conversations y'all having, because I know her question, she know my question. So go ahead, Kyra. They ready. They warm.
And we're definitely going to circle back to the brown paper bag, Shannon. All right. So my first question is, can you share briefly your personal experience or observations of colorisms in your community? And I just want to start off by saying thank you all to people being on the panel. I want to put that in the front because this can be a very triggering, very touching, touchy subject, and different people feel a type of way. I realized I felt a type of way about it a couple weeks ago when I was in Chicago. And so just thank you in advance for sharing, for your transparency, and for us getting through this difficult conversation together. So let me repeat the question. Can you share briefly your personal experience or observations of colorism in your community?
I think for me, it probably started at a young age. Being light skinned was a thing that was popular or cool. I'm not black, but I'm kind of chocolate caramel. But my personal experience is just that like light skinned people got away with more. They got more. They were involved with more. They had more friends than us. People looked at them more fondly. Um, and they were just like cooler than like the average black person. Go ahead, Ed.
I want to almost piggyback on you, Obi. I think so. Everybody know I'm on my 1 day win journey. If you ever follow me on social media, because I'm trying to change the way I even think, change my mindset. And I think when I was younger, I thought I had that same mindset. Like I thought maybe light skinned girls were more bougie, whatever that means,
Hmm.
and dark skinned women were girls then were more laid back and cool. Even within my own family, I have a cousin named Kelly, and she's about Tiffany complexion, and she's a beautiful young lady, woman of God, can sing better. I think I put my money up against her, against anybody, Beyonce, anybody. And then I had another cousin named Jennifer, who's maybe Joshua's skin tone, and also she had beautiful long hair. She a woman of God. She could sing also really well. But I gravitate more to Jennifer than Kelly when I was a child because I just felt like Jennifer was more laid back. Jennifer was more I can say more cool, but I guess more cool, more somebody I can relate to. But it was just my mind thinking that because as I got older, in my late teens to my adulthood, I can call any one of them up and have a right now I can call them up while I'm on the pod and have a great conversation. So I think Obi, I think it's maybe we programmed or just our young mind was thinking that way. But I definitely don't think that way now, especially in my community now. This like somebody might ask me like, "What's your preference?" Fine, that's my preference. She got to be fine. I don't care what's her skin tone. Fine, that's my preference. Because if you look at between my child's mother, my children mothers, one is Shannon complexion, the other one is Tiffany complexion. So it doesn't matter to me, about that. And that's how I look at it into my community. Go ahead, Shannon.
Okay, so I don't want to be long-winded. However, I have two experiences I will never forget. And it's going to make me very vulnerable because I've never said it out loud in a public platform. The first one in my early 20s, maybe, me and a friend, used to go apply for jobs at the same time together and fill out the apps together. We did that for a nice hotel downtown. I think I had a little more credentials than she did because I could type faster, use 10 key, whatever. And it was for front service desk. Anyway, she got the job, I didn't. I asked her, could she try and pull me in? And she said, I'll talk to my supervisor. Her supervisor then told her that I could apply for any of the other positions with no problem, but they preferred someone lighter at the front desk. We're going to leave that there. And this one is close to my heart. All right. My mother.
Through, Shannon. Come through.
My mother, God rest her soul, she struggled with a lot of things and addictions. However, she was still my mother, right? And she was light skinned. It's 4 girls that she had. I was the darkest of them all. All right. My mother struggled with addiction. We was in foster care for a long time, since the age of 2. And I couldn't handle it. And I wanted to commit suicide. The day I tried to commit suicide with pills and everything, they pumped my stomach. I had the tube in my throat. I couldn't talk, swallow, or do much of anything. My mom came to see me and she said, look at you. You always want attention. You're always doing things for attention. And I just looked at her. I can't say anything. She said, as a matter of fact, I don't even think you my child. She said, because I didn't have no dark-skinned kids. They must have gave you to me by mistake. I have never forgotten that. For the rest of my life, while my mother was living, she died when I was in 8th grade of a drug overdose. But however, every time she seen me, she would call me a witch. Witches normally dress in black.
Well, Shannon, I don't.
So I'm saying it started for me young and throughout life. So that's why I'm so passionate about this topic.
I don't mean to mess up your groove, interrupt your knowledge, but I'm really sorry that you had to go through that. And those are some instances that our community struggles with when it comes to colorism. So I'm gonna be the first to say thank you for sharing that, and we appreciate your experience. Real talk.
So even your own family can make you think you're not worthy.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why we gotta have topics like this in our community, because. And this was the hardest of all topics we have did on Nutz and Boltz.
Yes.
This was absolutely the hardest one to get the panel. I mean, it was like I couldn't notice Shannon is the only one of a darker complexion on here. This was the hardest one because people did not want to tap into this. But we need to tap into this conversation. We need to tell Shannon, you love just like Jenna's love.
Yeah.
Your love just like Tiffany's. There's no difference. But people was afraid to tap into this conversation. But if we don't talk about it as Black people, because we all beautiful, no matter what your skin tone, then what we think the other race is gonna do if we don't want to talk about ourselves. But do anybody else want to tap into Kyra's question? Jenna, Tiffany?
I really haven't dealt with colorism on that platform or that level. My mom's light skin. I have a sister that's dark skin, aunt that's dark. I have a daughter that's dark skin. I mean, we all just looked at each other as equal. I never really had the whole better than other. Actually, I have one of my best friends. She wasn't gonna be my best friend because I was light skinned. She said, I'm not talking to that little high yellow heifer. And I approached her and we became best friends. We've been friends for 15 years. But I mean, I didn't take offense to it or anything. It didn't matter to me. It's like whatever. So whatever stigmatism people want to put on me, thinking that I'm bougie or stuck up or whatever. I mean, until you get to know me, or if I get to know the other person, that's pretty much all that matters. I know colorism exists, but to say that it's in the forefront, it's just not my experience in life. So.
Yeah, I would say from my experience, I don't know that I can identify anything negative. Well, probably similar to what Tiffany just described, like people just assuming that you're stuck up or, bougie, something like that. I call them standards, but with that, in my family, I'm mixed. I'm half Puerto Rican and half Black. And we have all the colors of the rainbow on both sides of the family. On my Puerto Rican side, my aunt is dark skinned and my mom was light skinned, probably lighter than me, both of my parents. And then my cousins have have blonde hair and blue eyes. I'm 100% Puerto Rican. On my dad's side, the black side, he's the youngest of 7, and there's only one dark-skinned uncle out of all 7 siblings. He was always kind of the lone wolf. Anyway, but he was always the most fun. I don't know if it was because he was had more fun. But not that I've had negative experiences, but I am fully aware that colorism exists, and that just like racism, it is so deeply ingrained, probably down to honestly like the cellular level of what transfers from generation to generation. It truly is part of those generational curses, so to say, or those generational traumas that continue throughout. Like Shannon, like you shared so beautifully in a vulnerable way. Your mom probably had a negative traumatic experience within her life, and that's where she offset that anger and projected that onto you. It doesn't mean that that's what was truly in her heart, but it's what was in her. It was what was taught to her. Yeah. And so that's what she projected onto you. So, by all means, don't take that as her heart, take that as what she learned. And, just I'm sure you've already had a conversation with her to forgive, but it doesn't mean it hurts any less. And it doesn't mean that, if she passed when you were in 8th grade, you were still in a very immature way. So it's still life impacting.
Yeah.
But no, that comes all the way, so many generations back.
Yeah.
As far as the curses, or so to say, that need to be broken.
So before we continue, Facebook, I just told y'all earlier what to do. I'm about to log off of Facebook. If you want to watch the rest of this episode, click the link that's right in the chat and come and watch us on YouTube. Hey, YouTube, don't forget to click, like, and share this video. It's getting heavy already, but click, like, and share. We're about to open up the phone lines. The phone lines are about to be open. So if you want to call in, the phone line number is 704-891-9560. Again, the phone line is open. The number is 704-891-9560. Hey, Kyra, you want to go tap back into the brown bag, or you want to move on? What you think?
Yeah, let's address the brown paper bag since it came out of the bag. And Josh wanted to tap into that because I think the comment was made that we use the brown paper bag test, that we as a culture use it. And I think that the where it came from, that's what you were going to tap into, Josh. So go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for tapping in. So in my opinion, I think that the Black community has always been accepting of different hues. Even though, Shannon, I don't want to negate the situation that you went through personally, and even Tiffany's. I do, see some, light-skinned women having the same issues that you've experienced yourself. But I think that we get a bad rap for those instances that we go through. But ultimately, I believe that the Black community have always been acceptant of mixed children, different type of hues of us and of our people. And then so we don't benefit from colorism at all. And then so I say that to say, when we are talking about the brown paper bag theory, I think that stems from white people having the fear of people who look white kind of infiltrating their infrastructure. Sort of like the spook who sat next to the door theory, right? The man who kind of passed for a white guy, infiltrated, brought the resources back to the Black neighborhood, and was successful. So, in a nutshell, I just think that brown paper bag theory was something that was created by whoever created racism, right? Whether it be white people or whoever, to be able to test and to see and to qualify the different hues of Black people to be able to be quote unquote acceptable into white society.
Yeah. And really briefly, I pulled something up, and so it says the test was reportedly used by certain African American social clubs, fraternities, sororities, churches, and other organizations that sought to maintain certain aesthetic or social status within the broader community. These institutions often valued proximity to whiteness, which was perceived to confer social and economic advantages. And not much has changed in 2024.
Wow. Oh, you learn something new every day, and that's really, really interesting. I'm glad that you spit that stat, Kyra, to give me a different perspective of the intention or the meaning of colorism. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Shannon?
Thank you for that. And thank you for everybody that poured into me. I appreciate it, but it's not the Shannon show, but I thank you guys. Even though it could be, but no.
Say that.
I was gonna let you know that I did reference it for the paper bag to know that it started with our own kind. Outside of that, disparities and mistreatment are from our own kind. I mean, and even mixed races, of blacks, they struggle too, trying to fit in. I can't fit in with the white people because I'm not white enough, and I can't fit in with the black people because I'm not black enough. So where do I belong? So I think there are disparities in treatment amongst our own. So I was just saying I disagree with the state in general.
And I just want to quickly piggyback off of that in terms of like being mixed, because I identify as Afro-Latina. My mom's from Panama, my dad's from Chicago. And so I had a very recent conversation on my last trip to Chicago that was really eye-opening, and I had been kind of unpeeling it and analyzing it since the conversation. And so it was part of us on the show. We're talking about light skin versus dark skin, kind of prepping for this show and throwing the topic around. And I have always been so adamant about, I'm not light skinned. I am not light skinned, because most people are like, you're light skinned. And in my head, it's like disrespectful that you're calling me light skinned. So it's almost like I don't want to say like reverse racism, but it's like there's a stereotype out there for dark skinned people, which is a stereotype. Of course, it's not always true. In some situations, the shoe might fit, but not all the time. And then there's a stereotype, like we've talked about, light skinned people being uppity or bougie or having higher standards or different things like that. And so I was just so adamant, like, I am not light skinned. And she was, the person that was in the conversation is like, why are you so stuck on caramel? Like, why is that so important? Why are you so adamant to that? And I think it was like me just wanting to be separate from both of the stereotypes, because I haven't heard that many stereotypes about caramel skin girls or guys. And so it was just really eye-opening, that the adamancy that has been in me about not identifying as one or the other. And the reality is, if I got pulled over by the police, they would be like, we have an African-American woman pulled over in a Honda Civic. And if somebody saw me, they're going to say that I am Black at the end of the day. So I'm working on being more open-minded and not giving in, but not like identifying or connecting with these different stereotypes that have been put on us by different cultures and colonizers.
It's crazy that you say that, Kyra, because we all have thought that once upon a time in our life. But it's like, if I go back to my children's mother again, if you go for bougie or whatever, the one that's darker is more bougier than the one that's lighter. So it's like, it's not even about skin tone. It's more about the character.
Yeah.
Because you look at them two, you would never imagine, like, they're totally opposite. And if we go off of what the world says, the darker one is way more, way more probably bougier than whatever you want to call it, than the lighter one. So we got to start judging people off their character and not off their skin tone. Go ahead, Shannon.
Right.
I'm gonna dab into another question.
And I'm gonna move quickly, right? So Kyra, it's not, I love you. I'm always gonna be team Kyra, right?
Always.
You're unique in your own space, right? I love sitting at the table with you. However, you're the typical light-skinned woman that society wants. Okay. I mean, from your skin tone, if you straighten your hair, the sound of your voice, you use proper English, which some will say you talking white, you're what everybody looks for. You know, when they say I got to have a black woman to cover those two spaces in the economy, you're it. They going for you. And just to move a little quicker, black dark skinned women, it's a fake front sometimes to be bougie, because if I don't act that way, I'm the angry black woman, right? I get the angry black woman, and I ain't even mad. My resting bitch face may look concerning to some, but if you speak to me, I got a heart of gold. So a lot of times that's a fake front. I'm being bougie and being uppity because I want to be seen, because otherwise you wouldn't see me anyway. And you would look at me and say, she angry, she always mad. And I'm really not. But you saying that to me makes me mad. That makes me angry. So
Shannon, that ties back into the mind frame, Shannon.
it does.
It's the way your mind thinking. You got to
It does.
change the way you're thinking. That's what this whole podcast is about. It's trying to get everybody that's watching, everybody's gonna watch the rebroadcast, to change the way you're thinking. Your mind already said, I have to because I think this. And that's what I heard. I don't know everybody. Did y'all hear the same thing? No. So you have to renew your mind as we are adults, as we're evolving. Because the gentleman on here would say the same thing I said. We don't care what color you is.
I was gonna say that. If I can chime in real quick.
Go ahead.
Like, I'm sitting here watching the screen, and I'm in the middle of Tiffany and Shannon. I've never, like, I don't experience colorism the way you guys do, but in that same token, I agree with Ed when I have a baby mother who looks like Shannon, who reminds me of Shannon, and then I have a baby mother, my youngest son Joshua, who looks exactly like Tiffany. So that's just something that, you know, men don't really juggle with, or I don't know. That's just something that we don't take into as much consideration as maybe society does, or women who has to deal with that does themselves.
I'm gonna tap into a question. We're probably gonna talk about this right now, or we might be talking about it already. But why is it there's so much animosity between light skinned people, not just women, people, and dark skinned people? And who or what is to blame for it? So again, why is there so much animosity between light skinned people and dark skinned people, and who or what is to blame for this animosity?
If I can chime in, I just think it's a perceived privilege from either category, because there are some people who are jealous of your skin tone, Shannon. They're jealous of your full lips. They're jealous of your black Nubian princess self. And they might make you feel like that's a negative simply because they want to have what you have. So maybe it's a societal thing. You know, maybe it comes from jealousy or internal, but that's a great question.
I think a lot of it is kind of like self-inflicted, just based off of the way we were raised, what we were taught, what our friends told us. You know, light skin is better, dark skin is better. I just think it's self-inflicted, and we just have to be mature and wise and just kind of move on. Because at the end of the day, like Kyra said, we're all black. So, and I'll admit, I've had my colorism issues. I've always thought the light-skinned people were better than me, but once I got older and wiser, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, I think that it's based off society and the way you were raised, because my oldest daughter is dark skinned, and she's the only dark skinned person in our family. And so at one point in time, she wanted to be light skinned. And when I realized that she wanted to be light skinned, I poured into her. I poured into her so much till she loved herself, and she knew how beautiful she was. And I think if more parents and relatives was to pour into the darker and sibling, child, or individual, to let them know that their dark is beautiful, their brown, their skin complexion, and the melanin and what it represents, that I think they will have more confidence, and they won't see it as intimidating or be irritated by a light-skinned person or anything like that. So I think it's just, the European standards that has been instilled in us from years and years, and then somebody has to break that curse to and still like, wait, I'm okay with regardless of how I am and how I look, I'm still going to be me. And until I feel like light skin or dark skin, whatever individual it is, get that self-confidence that they need, even if colorism does exist, it won't affect them to a point where they can feel it or they're being influenced by it, in my opinion. So
I'm so glad you said that, Tiffany. I had that conversation with a young lady today. I said, this conversation we have tonight is going to help the next generation. She was like, yeah, but what about this generation now? I said, okay, it's going to help them too, but we're really watching for them babies. Because if we train them babies up, they're like a snake. You cut the head off, the snake dies. Right now, these old folks, you cut the tail off, they still gonna live. We got to cut their head off. So, like Tiffany said, we train them babies up, then everything else gonna change between racism, police shootings, colorism. So I love that you just said that, Tiffany. Thank you for that.
And also to add, like I said, my oldest is dark skin, my youngest is light skin. And as far as the aggressiveness goes, my oldest dark skin is so soft spoken and so sweet, but the light skin one will tear your head off. So
okay,
we don't play.
Okay,
we do not play. And you know, you have to just find a balance, because I couldn't pour into her and still have the confidence of not taking away from her for being light skinned, but just letting both of them know, like, both of y'all are beautiful. At the same time, you know, we come in a diverse colors, and this is just the color you came out. That doesn't make you any less pretty or better or anything of that sort. And I treat them both, you know, the same way. And so that aggressiveness, I feel that the dark skinned angry Black women comment, I just feel like that comes from, well, I don't know where it comes from, so I'm not gonna say. I just think that it's from constantly hearing that the darker woman is more aggressive, and then so you get tired of hearing it, so now you become aggressive because you're tired of hearing that you're aggressive, or you're a strong Black woman. And so when you made to be a strong Black woman, when you're not able to operate in your femininity or whatever, because you know, you operating in masculine energy and have that protection up because of society standards have put on you.
Absolutely.
So
Shannon had something to say, Ed, and then you, and then I want to tap in before we move on. And then we're going to hit the comments too.
Did you say Jenna?
Shannon, were you going to say something, Jenna? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got to get used to raising my hand. You could tell I just hollered out in class. I would agree. I think that it's a combination of upbringing and also experiences that create, you know, each of us individually, and that kind of psyche of, you know, acceptance or rejection, or, you know, however you kind of feel about your own skin tone. I know, like for me, you know, being mixed, you know, people are just like, I always joke because my stepson, he's mixed as well, but he's mixed Black and white, and I'm mixed Black and Puerto Rican, but he is like, looks like he's my son, my hair and everything. And people, if they don't know the family tree, so to say, then they're like, oh, you look just like your mom. You got her hair and everything. And we're just like, you know, so I always kind of say, like, in regards to like mixed, like at some point, mixed people all just look alike, you know, kind of like that same stereotype is just, what are you mixed with? So then like I get those types of questions of, well, what are you mixed with? But then I'll say I'm Puerto Rican, and then it's like, but do you speak Spanish? And it's like, no, I don't speak Spanish. You know, so then it was like, not necessarily the color part, but then like the cultural aspect of not being able to speak the same language. And I speak a fair amount of Spanish, but like my mom didn't teach us Spanish despite her being from Puerto Rico and speaking fluently. You know, I learned Spanish from being interested in it and taking it in school. So that wasn't necessarily a color thing that kind of impacted my growth or my development or self, you know, acceptance, whatever kind of terminology you apply to it, but that was impactful of like, who am I? Am I Black? Am I Puerto Rican? Like, what do I look like? I look kind of like, I don't know what I look like. But then I think also my parents, my sister and I, we all have a very similar complexion. So I think that it wasn't emphasized as much because everybody in the family picture looked the same, so to say. Whereas my husband is very dark skinned, probably darker than every representation here, on the screen right now. And at 3 years old, my daughter is my complexion. My stepson is about my complexion. And at 3 years old, my daughter came up to me one day and she said, "Mommy, do you know what?" And I said, "What?" She was so excited. I said, "What?" She said, "We got a Black dad in this house." I said, "Yes." She said, "Can you believe we got a Black dad and a tan family?" And I said, "Well, the reason you're part of a tan family is because, daddy's contribution to you." I said, "That's why your complexion is a little bit darker than mine. And in the summertime, your skin tans significantly more than mine because of daddy's skin contribution to you." But it was like at 3 years old, like just this epiphany. And it was like kids see it so young, whether you teach it or whether you don't teach it, whether you speak on it or whether you don't speak on it, kids notice. And I think something that has been a huge impact on that, Ed, is like you're talking, there's so many more books available. So like I was always very intentional to have, like Hair Love and the different books. Yep, it's my dogs. I'm sorry. I've always been very intentional to always have those books available to her and always reinforce those books, because I know that those won't necessarily be the books that she might get at school, but at home, being sure to reinforce the value of your skin complexion, just like Tiffany said, the value of your hair difference, because her hair is not like my hair, and her sometimes being like, "I just wish my hair was like yours." And I was like, "My hair is annoying to me." I said, "The grass is just always greener. Everybody wants what somebody else has. You think it's easier, but it's just a different perspective. The grass is always greener. You're always going to have your own personal experiences." So I make sure to, like Tiffany said, build her up, that her differences make her more unique and make her even more beautiful. And I couldn't put my hair into braids like she can put her hair into braids. And so, like just the differences, but also like that they set us apart, but they also strengthen the individual.
Yeah.
Hey, Kyra, can you go into the chat? Because we don't want to leave the chat out. I don't want to cut nobody off. I know Shannon had a hand up, but let's see what the chat got to say. I see it. They cracking in there.
All right. Black is beautiful no matter what shade you are. I love our variety of colors. God really did his thing when he created us. I'm Team Ed again. It can be light, dark, bright, white, or blue, black, as long as it's fit and fine. Y'all know who that came from. Let's see. Society is to blame for colorism. I'm light-skinned, and I'm always the angry Black woman at work. I hear what you're saying, though, Shannon. And then lastly, the lighter-skinned slaves were allowed to work in the house, and the darker-skinned in the fields. And then, Shannon, you were going to say something, Ed, and then I'll make a last statement on this, and then we'll move on.
So I think we beat this over the head long enough, right? I was going to tell the truth and shame the devil, but I think the devil, know its place right about now.
Thanks.
So we gonna move on. All right. But thanks.
Ed, did you have something to add?
I just want to kind of comment on what Tiffany said. So I had a conversation with my cousin before, and he told me something. It was so profound, but when I heard, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Tiffany said that, I think she said women, or maybe dark-skinned women, always say, "I'm a strong Black woman." And so when I was talking to my cousin, he was like, "Do you notice only Black women say that?" He said, no other culture says I'm a strong white woman. I'm a strong Asian woman. I'm a strong Hispanic woman. And I thought about it. He was like, why do our people feel the need? They always have to say I'm a strong black woman and just be it. So I was like, I wanted that how maybe the masculine energy or whatever comes out because they always got to let us know or let society know that I'm a strong black woman. When you look at other races, I kind of agree because I have never heard it before. I know, fellas, if y'all heard it before, but I don't think I ever heard another race say they are strong X, Y, and Z.
Well, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said an angry black woman.
You
But
still
if you
strong
get
too.
into the strong black woman thing, I will comment on that, but that was not my words. I said that they're made to be the angry black woman because they get told of being this aggressive type by society, and so they keep hearing it over and over again, and then they really get mad. You know, they get angry from continuously hearing this angry black woman, or she's aggressive or anything, when she's been made to be aggressive because of the lack of masculinity that's in her life, or she's not able to operate in her femininity. That's what I said.
No, there's nothing
I didn't
about.
go
You
say that.
said
Say
we
strong.
pay attention on this show, Tiffany.
Let Shannon say what she wants to say.
I can rewind it back. I can rewind it back because you just said that, and you said strong black woman. That's what triggered me. That's why I raised my hand. So you said it because I heard it. But you might have meant like
okay.
they think this way, not you personally, but you might be, you were talking
Okay.
about the darker skinned woman. I'll be listening.
Okay.
Go ahead, Shannon.
Well, regardless of how we got here, let's stay there for a minute, right? Being a dark-skinned woman, I don't want to be called a strong black woman. I just want to be a woman, right? And I want to be in my feminine energy. A strong black woman makes me feel like I got muscles, right? I don't want that. It made me feel like I got hair somewhere that don't belong, right? So I think that was the excuse between each other to say, I'm complaining or I'm telling you what's hurting me, what's bothering me, how I feel, how society is beating me up. Yeah. And the only response you can give me, because you don't understand how I'm feeling, is you a strong black woman. You're going to get through it. That's that term. It has nothing to do with me. The only way you can identify the space I'm in, tell me I'm strong and I'll get through it. I don't want to be strong. I want to be vulnerable. I want to be weak like you. I want to cry like you. Absolutely. I want to lay my cape down like you. That came from our own because you didn't know what else to tell me. I'm not the strong black. I'm a woman. Period.
I think that and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm done.
I think strong black women came from us having to prove a point. Forget that. I'm crying. I'm gonna cry. I'm not gonna prove a point. I'm gonna show my femininity so that it can die down, that energy of like, I'm gonna prove to you of what it is. If I was done wrong or anything, no, I'm just gonna cry and I'm gonna just pour out my femininity. And no, I'm not strong. I'm going to cry just like any other race women would do. I'm going to cry, and that's what I'm gonna do to show my femininity. I'm gonna back down and I'm gonna cry. No, I'm not strong. I'm weak. Yes.
But just most women don't know what else to say. They say, you strong, you got this. That's a common response.
That is. That is. And you can say, no, I don't. I'm gonna be sad. We need to look at inside out. It's okay to be sad.
That part.
Yeah.
Jenna, go ahead and then I'll tap in.
I was gonna say, I feel as if being a strong black woman, that phrase and terminology comes from the families having been forced to be broken for so long, and the society, the historical implication of not having males in the home. So therefore, the Black woman had to represent the masculine and the feminine energy. And yet again, that gets passed down. There's research that shows that that masculine femininity gets passed down at a cellular level to biologically transfer from generation to generation. And so therefore, it's just something that is so deeply ingrained that it's the expectation. So then if you cry, or if you learn to be soft, so to say, it's initially looked at by the older generation as weakness. Whereas I think the change that's occurring through our generation, the millennials breaking through, going to therapy, addressing family history, setting boundaries, having standards, expectations, and staying with those boundaries and such. I think that's where the next generation, like Ed said, is learning that we can have those feelings. We can be weak in a moment. We can be strong in another moment. Like the Bible says, when I am weak, I am strong, for he is with me. So weakness is a strength. It is not
exactly
detriment to a character. And, I always say to my own daughter, I say, identifying your weakness is a strength, because you're telling yourself, I can work on this. This is something that I need help with. But society, I feel like, especially in the Black community, is so negative when it comes to weaknesses. And you do express that you go to therapy, then, the older generation will be like, that's some white people shit, and you're going to be like, no, that's some us stuff. That's why
before we stay on this too long, I want to move on to another question, and I'm on Joshua. I want you to tap into this one first, and then Shannon, I want you to dive into this one also. What are some of the psychological and social impacts of colorism on an individual?
If I can, I don't want to leave this on the table without mentioning it, that I hear strong Black women a lot. Y'all, we have a warrior spirit about ourselves, and I don't want to negate that. My mama was a strong Black woman. I got my name from a woman, my game from a woman, and I came from a woman. I don't want to negate the fact that you guys have a particular warrior spirit in y'all that frightens a lot of different cultures. And if you scared, say you're scared. You know what I'm saying? You can't deal with one, then don't deal with one. Now, back to
the question I asked Joshua. Yes. What are some of the psychological and social impacts of colorism on the individual?
Yeah, and I mean, we've experienced some of that on the show today. We've heard the story about what Shannon went through, the profound story that she went through in her life. We've heard how Tiffany has dealt with that, with some of the different dynamics of her children and the skin tones of her children. We've talked about Jenna and how she deals with that, being of mixed race, and Kyra as the same. So yeah, these things can have some real profound, strong social impact on us that can affect us in a negative way. But like you said, Ed, you said this the entire show. It's about mentality. It's about your mind state. If you kind of put yourself in a position to think differently and understand things in a different way, in a different capacity, then hopefully you'll have some better success dealing with colorism. It's all in your mind, as what Ed said. And if we can change it in our mind, we can change it in our households, and then we can change it outside in the reality that we create.
I agree.
Anybody else want to tap into that question before I move on to another one? Go ahead, Shannon. I'm gonna repeat the question. Then Shannon, I want you to go ahead, and Tiffany, may you jump in too. I said, what are some of the psychological and social impacts of colorism on the individual?
Okay, so I'm gonna stand firm on my comment that strong Black women derive from Black women as a coping skill to hush the storm, period. Because every woman can be strong. So to move forward to the this question, for me, it had a dramatic impact on me psychologically, because it impacted my self-esteem as a little girl leading into womanhood, and I still struggle today. To go back to something Josh mentioned, having prominent features, whether it's full lips, high cheekbones, slanted eyes, things like that, society or people, even people around me, felt like that is not cute. Where you come from, so that was a struggle. So to be told this over here and then seeing it in the world, you didn't feel like I didn't feel, let me say I didn't feel accepted. I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel pretty enough. I was left out there, right? And so psychologically, it played a part on the decisions I made, with relationships, with having children, with job choices, everything. Because even picking a job, I wanted to be in a job where I can give back to the community and just be seen. And sometimes when you go through this, disparities of treatment, it makes you overcompensate. I'm not speaking for all dark-skinned women. I'm just speaking for me. You will overcompensate just for people to see you, and recognize who you are and be accepted and be loved. So even to piggyback with Tiff, my daughters, I always wanted to see what I would look like light skinned, because baby, it was too hard being dark. God bless me. He gave me double for my trouble. I got a Haley and a Heather, okay? And they are light skinned. Heather's a red bone, Heather's a caramel, baby. And I'm telling you, I look at them and I see the world, right? I see the world at their fingertips. That's why I named them Haley and Heather. So when they apply for these jobs and on the phone, you don't even know they're black, okay? And to even move a step further, Haley, her nickname is Pretty. Why? Because my mother never called me pretty, ever. So Haley's nickname is Pretty. The world, everything, Pretty, come here. Heather, Princess, come here. I'm speaking life into them because of what I didn't have, how I didn't get treated, the love I missed out on, the reasons why I had a failed marriage and failed relationships, because it was a disconnect for me. A disconnect with socially, economically, and mentally, right? And I still struggle today. However, I go to therapy and I put myself at tables like this. Surround myself with people like you that lift me up, pour into me, and so I can be vulnerable in these spaces and learn and grow. And maybe you could tell me something that I miss so that I can get better for them, because my time is come and gone almost. I got one foot in the grave, baby. But them two little girls over there, if I can shield them from what I've experienced, I'm going to do every single thing I can and put my feet under every table I can so that they will know they're valuable, they're loved, regardless of their complexion, regardless of their features. All right? And I'm going to leave it there. Thank you.
I want to say this real quick. Shannon, I applaud you for being a good woman. Tiffany, I applaud you for being a good woman, good mother. Tiffany the same with you. Jenna was saying with you, and Kyra the same with you. But I think we need to have more of these conversations with everyone, because I understand why you named your daughters that. A lot of us have named their kids that because of that reason. But if we have more conversation like this with the world, maybe we won't have to name our daughters stuff like that. Maybe we could say my son named Mustafa and still get that job. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we got to change the way the world views this crap. You know, why do we got to name my daughter Jessica? I got a friend, her name Jessica Elizabeth. She's like, my mom named me that. So I know when they look at it, why we got to do that? Because we have to change the way people think. And it start changing our minds and then changed the others' minds. So we want to do that crap anymore. What'd you say, Joshua? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Oh no, I was just chiming in. I'm like, hey, my name is Joshua. I've always thought my name was straight from the Caucasus Mountains. You know what I'm saying? So I get what you guys are saying.
I think changing people's mind is good, but there's so much that is in these systemic systems that are rooted and grounded in systemic racism. And I want to piggyback off what you said earlier in terms of like being able to get to the younger generation, help molding and shaping how they view things, and just knowing the importance of being present, voting, who you put into in legislation, the people that are passing these laws and rules and different things like that, and even who you work for. If it's a person that's or an organization that's continuing to oppress their people of color, it's about breaking the systems for me. And breaking the system starts by education, and also starts by acknowledgement that wrong has been done to people of color since the beginning, and then working to change those policies, those procedures that are within the system that continue to make other people win and for us to be at the bottom.
Go ahead, Jenna.
So this just like popped into my head, just how universal colorism and racism actually is. It's very much a United States issue, but it is also a world issue. In grad school, I had the opportunity to go to Africa for a mission trip. And it's just came to my mind that, of course, the country is full of the deepest skin tones that you can ever imagine. Shannon, you be light skin.
Yeah.
Okay. Or light skin over there, Shannon.
Yeah.
But I remember when we went to visit the schoolhouse one day for a tour, there was one little girl that was sitting by herself, and she was albino. So she was albino. Everyone in the village would isolate her. So whenever she was out in the sun, she had to have an umbrella. You know, obviously none of the other kids had to have an umbrella. She truly needed it for protection of her skin, sunglasses to protect her eyes. You know, and so it's like, it just like adds to the perspective of how impactful and how deep it really goes. Like on the continent where everybody's supposed to, you know, look of like this deep complexion, and she had no complexion. She was so light, you know, and had red eyes and, you know, white skin. And so even in the country from which all of us in some way, shape, or form evolved, there's still racism and colorism there.
Yeah.
Hey, Shannon, I got a question for you, Shannon. Since you're only female on the dark side on this panel, do you really believe, or do you believe at all, that light skinned women have it easier than dark skinned women?
100%. I'm gonna stand firm on that. 100%. Throughout my life, I've witnessed it. I've been privy to it. I've been in those situations, even with my sister pitted against her in foster homes. She was the dumb blonde, and I was the dark skinned one that knew everything. But absolutely, I stand on that.
And it's because of what you've been through, the reason why you think this, or is it just your personal experience in your life, or you think overall, like?
I think overall, we got here through slavery. That's what it started with the beginning of this broadcast, right? Slavery started this, the house nigga and this nigga, right? Or Negro, I'm sorry, right? That's where it derived, and we've carried it on through generations. And I do believe it's present within our own community. I believe it's present in mainstream media. I mean, why is Halle Berry still the only first Black woman to get an Oscar for Best Actress when Viola Davis has played in many roles that's way better, took more skill, more effort, but she's still trying to prove herself today. They danced around it and gave her everything else but that. And Monsters Ball, knock it off. All right? And it's been years, right? It's here. It's not going nowhere until we start these conversations and change the views within our own communities before we
I think she has some technical difficulties.
Other people see us. It starts here. How do we have these hard conversations? The question tonight for the panel, what do we do to start a change, right?
Yeah.
It's here. You start here, work it straight and reach anywhere else, but it's here.
So I want to flip that question then. I want to ask the lighter skinned women, do y'all feel that y'all had it easier than a dark skinned woman? We heard her point of view. What's y'all POV?
From listening to what she said, I can say that it sounds like it. I've never really like sat back and put myself in that situation or thought those through, because it hasn't been like my lived experience or my truth. So like to an extent, I can say that there's probably a certain type of privilege that comes with the shade of my skin or with the tone of my voice when people hear me. on the phone, or when people see or say that I speak proper English instead of Ebonics or Black vernacular, and the way that I carry myself. So definitely think that there is some privilege, even though I'm still, still Black, and have challenges that I struggle with in different areas and being at the table with people. So yeah, I think that it could definitely be true, and it's just things I haven't thought of because I haven't been in in those situations. It's definitely been eye opening to hear your truths and to hear the different things that you have struggled with, and then the ways that you've been able to change your legacy and to plant those seeds in your children and other people around you so that they don't experience that and that they can sow that into the generations that come after them.
I would agree. I definitely know my life has been, I'm gonna say, slightly easier than a dark skinned Black woman. There is definitely privilege that come with being light skinned. So there's no doubt about it. With colorism, you do have the benefits when you're lighter. But I just wanted to ask Shannon a question. So I know you have two light skinned daughters. What if you had one light and one dark? How would you go about that? As far as I know, you praise them for being light skinned, but if you had a dark skinned daughter with the experience that you have, how would you mitigate? I know, because it seemed like you were just so proud to have them as light skinned. So if you just have one of them that was dark skinned, how would you go about operating in that? With one being, if one was your complexion.
Whoa, that's deep, right? For the sake of the show, I'm not speaking for all dark-skinned women, because it could have been another dark-skinned woman on here that didn't have my experiences, right? So I'm gonna be clear about that. I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm just Shannon. But that's a very good question. Mind you, I do have two sons, and one which is exactly my complexion, maybe a little darker. However, to answer your actual question, I think I probably, honestly, we're going to be honest. I would pour more into the darker one because I would see more of what I went through in that one and would be afraid for that one to ever walk a day in my shoes as a child. Not to be loved by your mother or wanted, and society beats you up because you got low self-esteem and you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing because of the low self. I would try and save that hurt any way I could. So to be honest, if I had one light, one dark, that dark child would probably get a little bit more of me than I got of anyone. Because remember, you the black sheep, and I think that's where that term derived from, a little piece of it anyway. But it was a good question.
Yeah.
I would say in response to Ed's question, me personally, my experience is I feel like my life was fairly easy. I don't know if it's influenced by the hue of my skin or just that my parents had the area in which we lived in. Essentially, we lived in the Black neighborhood, but everybody else at school was white. So all the Black kids, whether you was actually related or not, we grew up and, everybody was our cousin. So with that, I speak, quote, white. I pronounce, my husband makes fun of me. I said, I'm going to pronounce all the letters that are in the word. That's just what I do. I can't change that. But I think that my parents and their upbringing, I think they had worked to a level so that they could provide for us. So, I feel as if looking back, I know that I lived a privileged life. you know, in comparison to like how many people grew up. You know, I played travel sports. Now that I have a daughter that plays travel sports, I'm like, dang, now I know how expensive it was, and traveling and things of that sort. You know, just went to regular like public school, but that's because that's what we did. It wasn't like now where you look at all the different school options and things of that sort. So like I say it all to come back to, I feel as if my life was easy in comparison to many people that I know, but I honestly attribute that more to how my parents raised us and how they were able to provide for us, and how we did have a home of stability. You know, both of our parents, we were well connected to both of our extended families, both sets of grandparents. So I think the family structure was very different from a lot of my friends. Like I didn't have friends that didn't have both parents in the home until I was probably in high school. And so I say all that to say that I think that had a big influence. I don't necessarily know that it was my skin complexion, but being light skinned, it definitely had an influence, because now that I think about it, like I played soccer, didn't know Black kids play soccer. I was the darkest person on the field my whole entire life. I can't express how excited I am to see the U.S. women's soccer team have so much diversity on it. I mean, it could bring tears to my eyes, because I've only ever seen one Black professional soccer player, and that was Brianna Scurry, the goalkeeper for the national team. And but yeah, so I would say that my personal story, I feel, was more heavily influenced on the family structure I had growing up versus, but also, you know, I do acknowledge that my skin tone did have, you know, most likely a contribution, because I didn't stand out as much against the majority of the kids in the school, because most people was white.
Hey, y'all. So Kyrie gonna read some of the comments, and we got two more questions. We gonna make these questions quick. Cause we gonna get out of here. We won't be here all night. So we got two more questions after Kyra reads the comments. You know, I ain't got that white in me.
Wait, what just happened? Oh my God.
After Kyra reads the comments, we got two more questions. I'm gonna let everybody dive into them, but we're gonna make these answers shorter. You know, we all being a little bit long tonight, so we're gonna make them a little bit shorter. So we can get y'all out of here, get to your husbands, your wives, your booze, and all that good stuff. Go ahead, Kyra.
What if you don't have any of that?
Well, that's me and you did, Kyra. We
I got Alexa.
Watching TV. I'm about to watch Netflix.
I'm watching show.
All right. Sometimes it's not as easy to be in your feminine energy as a single mother, especially raising boys. Another person said it was a system of division. This is when we were talking about like where colorism started from. It was a system of division then, so we would not unite. Another person said, not true. This is in reference to the RBF, resting B face. It's not true. It takes 30 times as many muscles in your face to frown as opposed to smiling. RBF is not frowning. It's just a resting face.
Right.
Halle Berry only got her Oscar because she had sex with a white man on the big screen. And then I would just prefer to have a soft woman. And before you say it, you can't be both.
I disagree with that.
Totally.
Yeah, I disagree. I definitely think you can have a balance of masculine and feminine energy and exuded where it needs, in what situation it needs to go in. So everything is about balance in life. Whatever you do, you have to have balance, and you can be in masculine and balance in your feminine energy, and do both.
Tiff,
and I think the commenter
you're gonna wake
may have been saying. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Shannon.
No, I was just saying, Tiff, you're gonna wake up a sleeping giant with that. We done had this conversation 1,000 times.
Because I think they were talking. I think they were probably referencing the strong black woman comment.
Okay.
Which we're gonna move on.
Okay.
We're gonna move on because I'll go tap into that. I ain't gonna do it though. I ain't gonna do it.
Right.
All right, so let's yeah, Shannon, thank you, Shannon. Like, yeah, we done beat that up a lot of times. Have your views on colorism evolved over time? Have your views of colorism evolved over time?
My views definitely. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say my views definitely have in like acknowledging what other people's traumas are and what people's truths are, and like the what they have to walk in, and trying to kind of like flip the script and not normalizing different words like, oh, she's pretty for a black girl, and or for a dark skin, or oh, she's a model even though she's so dark. And so just kind of calling people out when they say things, and uh, questioning people and allowing them to think differently by standing up for what the truth is. And I think that society is kind of starting to change. This generation now, I think, is really inclusive in terms of mobility, speech, and so many different inclusions that they have with people that are represented, seeing thick girls on the cover of magazines and Target ads and different things like that. So I think that a shift is happening. There's a lot of wrong that has been done, a lot of stereotypes that have been done to people and that people still believe in. So we have a long way to go, but I think that it has started to change.
I agree. So I don't know. This is hard to say, but because it's almost like how it is with Black people. It's like this is the society we live in, and I doubt if it changed in our lifetime, but maybe in another lifetime if we continue this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just like, okay, these were the cards I was dealt, so I got to make the best of it, kind of speak.
Yeah.
And as far as, you know, everybody experiences 7 billion people on this world, I seriously doubt if we all get on one accord on preferences and the society of, like, you know, them deep wooded KKK people who feels they are more empowered, and, you know, just it's just so many cultural differences in this world, and everybody feel the need to be more powerful or more light than the next person. It's going to be hard to break this stigmatism of the whole light skin, dark skin, I'm better, you're not, I have this, you have that, because it's just so many different cultures and people and mindsets in this world. And I just feel like once you heal within yourself, all that just becomes noise. And colorism and racism and stuff, like, you see it, but it's just not, you don't accept it for, like, okay, this is happening to me. It's like, okay, this is society. Okay, whatever. If I don't get this job, it wasn't for me. I'm gonna find a job that's, you know, somebody who wants me for who I am and who accept me. If this person don't want me because I'm light skinned or dark skinned, that's fine. I'm gonna go somewhere else where I'm accepted and wanted. You find your people, you find your place, and you be happy. And I can say that because of my experience. Shan, I know you have a totally different experience and you probably don't see it like that, but that's just my viewpoint on the colorism, racism, and stuff like that. Like, yeah, we see it, but once you become one with God and yourself, and you just heal from, you know, this generational trauma that we've been programmed with, and all this stuff that's dumped upon us, that, yeah, you'll be okay and we'll be okay. But I just don't see in this lifetime or anytime soon that we're going to all be on one accord and everybody have the same beliefs that we're just equal, because we're all different. And some people believe in, like, I'm better than somebody, and that's how it's just going to be. So that's society we live in. So that's my view anyway.
Well, I think it hasn't changed. It's not going anywhere anytime soon until we have these conversations. Regardless of the healing, I'm not going to downplay therapy and healing and the process, because we need that for self-healing and self-vindication and self-esteem, right? And I could do all of those processes, or the next one and the next one. That only changes your response to what the world's still going to give you, right? It's not going to change what's happening to you. It just changes how you respond and react to it. All right. That's what the healing process is for. It's still going to be there. It's still going to be present until we have more dialogue and have real solutions. Because nowhere in here that we talk about what do we do to change it? What can we do to make
That's
it
my
different?
next question.
Sorry. Bye. But that was it.
Anybody else? I'm gonna tap into the last question. If anybody else don't have nothing on that one, or anybody hear something on that one before I tap into the last one?
Tap.
Somebody say it?
I said tap.
Oh, okay. So the last question was Shannon kind of alluded to it. What steps can individuals and communities take to combat colorism? What steps do you think we can do to combat colorism?
And I'll attack that if I can. And I mean, I don't know what we can do. I think that this is something that's going to always be prevalent with us. But I think if we want to take steps in order to change this, I think one thing that we can do is understand that we all have a commonality between us. Everyone on this panel, even Jenna, who is mixed with Black, you know, Kyra is mixed as well. We all have a commonality that we share, which is culture, which is kind of a direction that we want to go culturally. And so if we kind of focus on what those commonalities are, what can we do to have an understanding that we're all going through the same thing and be able to relate to each other with that commonality, I think that we can begin to start to have the conversation, or at least moving towards some change that would be substantial. Because all y'all the same. Yeah, Tiffany, you going through the same stuff as Shannon in a certain different way, right? In a certain different perspective. Jenna as well, and everyone on this panel. But we do have something that is common to all of us, and that's the culture we share. And let's just build on that, right? Let's just move towards what we can do to build on that, and I think we can get closer to overcoming or combating colorism.
Hey Joshua, we gonna end it. We gonna end it right here. So I'm gonna let everybody tap into this, but Joshua, give your final thoughts. Then we're gonna go around and people can tap into this last question with their final thoughts. So hit your final thoughts also.
This was a very, very, very important conversation that we all had to have. I really appreciate everyone sharing. I mean, even though me personally, I haven't experienced what you guys experienced, but I see it. So I really appreciate you all sharing those experiences that you have. I've been enlightened on this show in certain instances, and I'm really thankful for this show. So thank you to you all for creating this space where people can come and we can talk about our differences and create a way to overcome some of the issues that we have in our community.
Thank you, Joshua. Hey, Tiffany. So the question was, how can we change things in our community? And after that, give your final thought of the show.
I think healed people help people. So once you've healed yourself, then you can help another person. And until you've healed yourself, you can't help anybody and you won't spread the change. So that's my final thought on colorism.
And what's your final thought about the show as a whole?
I think it was great. I think it was a very interesting topic that I told you, I'm like, why are you going to put me on this? Like, I'm like, I ain't trying to be this deep, man.
Right.
And, it was a good topic. It was good hearing Shannon's views on colorism, because I know darker women get it more. And you know, I know colorism exists, and it's a hard conversation to have, especially being light-skinned. But I'm not afraid to say, like, yes, I do see the colorism, and I do have the light-skin privilege. And, you know, I can hear other people's experiences, and I can empathize with them. because I know it's happening. What I do to change it, and it's, believe it or not, I just got my first real light-skinned friend like me 2 years ago. The majority of my friends have been dark-skinned. I've always been the only light-skinned friend in the group. And I use my light-skinned privileges for our benefits. So I know it exists. And yeah, it's a hard conversation, but it was a good conversation to have.
Thank you. Miss Jenna, how can we change and combat colorism? And then what's your final thought overall of the show?
I think the biggest way, first of all, I agree with what you guys have already mentioned, but I think intentionality, being intentional with your actions, with your words, just like Shannon said, she's so intentional to, build up her girls. So it doesn't matter what the world feeds them. She's already built them up to be strong individuals so that they won't hear, the world will just be noise. So I think intentionality in continuing the conversations and just being aware of self is the biggest way to grow in any aspect of life. Yeah. I enjoyed the conversation. I like having conversations, so that was fun. I didn't know what to expect. It just reached out to me, and I was like, all right. But I truly love having just intelligent conversations and with individuals and gaining perspective, sharing perspective. I think intentionality and perspective shifting is really what makes the world go round. And what makes us human is the fact that we can change those things. Mm-hmm. So we can be intentional to change our perspective on something and to respect somebody else's perspective as their experience and vice versa. So to truly accept everybody and who they are and how they are and keep it moving, but conversation, intentionality, perspective.
Thank you, Jenna. Miss Shannon held it down on her own. I love it.
Hey, family. So again, I didn't speak for all dark-skinned women. This is my experience. Thank you guys for giving me a platform to be vulnerable in and speak my truth and be okay. Yeah. Right? I appreciate that. For me, I believe that the way to change things is through love because it's abundant and it is free. And if everybody loves somebody, the love in the room will fill the place and nobody will see each other differently. And outside of that, with colorism, it's present musically, entertainment-wise, society, and within our own homes and our own systems. And I think that we all want the same thing, regardless of shade. We want to be respectfully heard and responsibly dealt with. Yeah. Right? Respectfully heard and responsibly dealt with. Okay. And until we have both of those things, we're always going to be a problem for one another and for somebody else. All right. I love y'all much. Thank you for having me. It was a privilege, an honor. And I did not come on here for sympathy or a pity party. Baby, I'm long gone with that.
Yes, man.
All right. But I wanted to speak out in case it's somebody else that's went through what I went through, going through what I went through, or still in something that I might still be lacking in. That was my reason for being on the show. And I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Miss Kyra, what you have? How can we change everything and what you thought about the show?
I think still changing through education, through acknowledgement, and through pouring into our youth. I have nieces that are different shades, and I've taught them to do affirmations, to walk in their blackness, to be proud to be a Black queen and Black princess and different things like that. So just normalizing positivity and positively speaking into each other. And then also having conversations like this so that those difficult conversations get a little bit less difficult. And then also, Piggy, I liked what Tiffany said in terms of like being an ally for people and using your privilege to help your dark-skinned family member, person, whatever, be seen and be heard and to help them have a seat at the table.
Thank you, Ms. Kyra. Obi, You look quiet tonight, Obi. What you got? I know your wheels is turning though. I seen your looks
Yeah,
all night.
I'm gonna be quick, man. To me, colorism it's almost like self-inflicted systemic racism in our own community, and I think in order for that to change, we have to be the change agents for that. I think it was Tiffany that said something earlier. I don't think it's going to change in my time or my grandchildren's time, but until we have those tough conversations with ourselves, with our friends and our family members, and to include our kids and our grandkids, it's not going to change. And Shannon, just thank you for sharing your story tonight. I'm sure it touched a whole lot of people, and I know it helped some people. You know how they say hurt people, but I'm glad to see you turn that hurt into love.
Thank you.
Thank you, Obi. Hey, MP, make me big. So I think tonight conversation was absolutely wonderful. I absolutely love what Tiffany said when she said, "Heal people, help people." That is the most dopest. I think I'm gonna put that on my Facebook post. That was real dope. I like when she said that. I like what Shannon said. Until we start to hear each other and see each other, things is always going to continue to be the same. But also, I feel like change is going to come. I don't know. I'm just so all my friends can tell you I'm so optimistic. I feel change will definitely come in our lifetime because I think we're going to start grabbing people and talking to people about stuff like this of different races, different genders, and we're going to have start having these tough conversations. I'm so grateful for everybody that came on the panel. I think Shannon was vulnerable. I think Tiffany was vulnerable. I appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. Um, and like I said earlier, it was like pulling teeth to even get guests to come on. They were so, I'm gonna say afraid, but just didn't want to touch this topic. But I'm gonna say this one more time. We need to touch this topic. Like, don't shy away from it. It's gonna be okay. Tonight, I don't think nobody felt disrespected. I don't think nobody felt ashamed. I think we all handled this like mature adults. And I think it was an awesome show. But we still need to have more conversation. It cannot end tonight. It has to continue going on. And like Tiffany even said, and like I alluded to, with the next generation. Also, real quick, if y'all want to hear us talk about something different, talk about a topic, drop it in the comment section right now. If you got a topic you would love for us to talk about on Nutz and Boltz, drop it in the comment section right now. Kyra gonna scroll through and see what y'all want to hear us talk about. But if you'd like to be on next week's podcast, you can reach out to Tashina Nicole on Facebook or myself, Edmund Chapman on Facebook. All right. If you want to be a panelist for next week's show. Also, we are looking for sponsors. If you'd like to be a sponsor, if you want to sponsor one show, you want to sponsor a few shows, you want to sponsor us monthly, yearly, whatever. If you want to be a sponsor, you can reach out again to Tashina Nicole on Facebook or myself, Edmund Chapman on Facebook, or you can email me at eddieed30@gmail.com. That's EDDIEED@gmail.com. And something we didn't mention, our Datum Audition. Yes, y'all, we got a Datum Audition show coming up real soon, hosted by our very own Angel Morris. Yes, Datum Audition. We're right now still looking for contestants to come on the show. We're gonna be vetting everybody. Trust me, it's not gonna be no there's poop butts. Like my mom used to say, ain't no poop butts. It's gonna be some real gentlemen, some real ladies. So if you'd like to be part of the Datum Audition, again, reach out to Tashina Nicole on Facebook or myself, Edmund Chapman on Facebook. All right, y'all. And like I say every single week, I love you. God loves you. Go out.
I think my baby hot. Don't speak to any moment.